Hey, what's up? It's Tony from Street Church Ministries and The Inside Job. You're watching the Inside Job podcast. Hey, thanks for hopping on board, guys. We are in the last week of a series that we've entitled Afterthoughts. So basically, over the last several weeks, we have been opening up the scriptures, looking at people who in the world's eyes would be thought of as, afterthoughts, and seeing how after Jesus entered into their lives, their whole world was turned upside down. And hopefully, applying some of those practices into our lives as well. Because what the truth is this, right? You and I were created to add value to people's lives. Period. I guarantee you, if we wake up, I'm not saying you, I'm saying we, because I need to do this too. If we wake up and ask ourselves this one question, Lord, how can I add value to one person's life today? If we do that every day, we will become the people that God created us to be. Period. It's so important. Sometimes I think that those people who are living life and for whatever reason, they feel like they are, afterthoughts. Whether, it's self-inflicted or whether they just have a low self-opinion of themselves, whether they, for whatever reason, they look at themselves as an afterthought, they really need the church to step up and to add value to their lives, to show them that, regardless of how they feel. Listen, feelings are not facts, okay? Regardless of how they feel, they are on equal footing with all of us in terms of our value and worth in God's eyes. And that'll go a long way to changing not only how they see themselves, but ultimately how they live their lives, right? So we're going to look at a woman today in Mark chapter 7 who, and we're going to see what we can glean from her that will enable us enable us to not allow our identity to be formed by the way other people view us, by the way we have been treated, by the way that other people see us, because ultimately, our identity, our sense of who we are needs to be formed with what God says about us and what God thinks about us, not how everyone else sees us or how the world treated us or according to our accomplishments or failures, right? So this woman had the one necessary quality that is needed to put your violin away and to allow your sense of identity to be formed by what God says about you. All right, because the natural thing to do is to if you live your life and if you're treated a certain way, if you are, if you're devalued a certain way, you begin to look at yourself that way, and you begin to, and it's harder to see yourself as God sees you. It's easier to pull out your violin and to play your sad song for yourself and to put your hands back in your pocket and just walk away saying, oh, shucks, and sad, right? It's a lot harder to keep it moving, to keep moving forward with, God, and to see himself as he sees you. And this woman has the one quality necessary for that. So the story is in Mark chapter 7 and beginning in verse number 24. And here we go. And from there, Jesus arose and went away to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And he entered a house and did not want anyone to know about it, yet he could not be hidden. But immediately a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him and came and fell down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she begged him to cast a demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, let the children be fed first, for it is not right to take the children's bread, throw it to the dogs. But she answered him, yes, Lord, but even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. And he said to her, for this statement you may go your way, the demon has left your daughter. And she went home and found the child lying in bed and the demon gone. Wow. So, number one, she was a Syrophoenician woman. So that's three strikes right out of the box. Okay. So she was Syrophoenician. She was from a region, modern day Lebanon and or Syria. But the important thing, it was outside of Israel. All right. So that's the first strike. Number two, she was a Gentile, most likely Greek, origin. Again, non-Jew. Second strike. And number three, she was a she. And in that day, that was the 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 biggest strike of all. Okay, so right out of the gate, she's a three-time loser, and she's walking up to a Jew and to a Jewish man and to a Jewish man who happened to be a rabbi. Like, that's not something that you did if you were a woman who was outside of the Jewish race who lived outside of Israel. It's not something that you would do, but she did it. You guys know, if you have kids and your kids are not doing well, you just live and die with your kids, right? Their successes or their failures or their troubles or their victories, right? You rise and fall with them. Like, we are tied to our kids' shortcomings, our kids' limitations, our kids' sufferings. We are tied with them. If your kid's not doing well, you are not doing well. And most mothers I know will move heaven and earth to change that. And she was no different, right? So her kid's not doing well, and she hears about Jesus. She must have heard about this guy who was moving about, loving people. He was doing miracles. He was doing all sorts of things. She's like, this is my shot. I got to get to Jesus. So she asked him to, heal her daughter. And what does Jesus do here? He does something that's shocking. He calls her a dog. He calls her a dog. He says this. He says, let the children be fed first, for it is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. What? He called her a dog? I mean, that's so insensitive. So what are some words for that? Okay, it's rude. It's insensitive. It's potentially racist even, right? I mean, at best, it's insensitive and rude. At worst, it's racist. Here's the reason why it's not. So in that time, there were two Greek words that were used for dog. There was one word that was used to describe dogs in terms of an undomesticated, untamed wild beast. And there was another word used to describe dog as a household pet that you would feed, that would live in your house, just like the household pets now. So there were two different names for dogs. So the name for dog that Jesus used here is the name for the household pet who lived in your house, that you took care of and that you fed as a household pet. So what Jesus is saying is this. He's like, listen, I'm a Jew. I bring the good news and the gospel for the Jewish people first. Okay, everyone else is welcome to it. It's for the whole world. It's for the Gentiles. But first it goes to the Jews and then everyone else afterwards. And that's what he's saying. And she recognized it. Okay, so her response after Jesus said that was, yes, Lord. So the first thing that she said was, yes, Lord. So she recognized that there was something different about Jesus, that he wasn't only a good teacher, a rabbi, he was a master. So she used the word for master here. So she says, yes, master, right? But even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. The other thing that she recognized was her, place. She recognized that she was a non-Jew and that Jesus, being a Jewish rabbi, came first to bring his life and his gospel to the Jewish people. And then she said, but Lord, if I'm a household dog, I'm good with that, okay? And I'll eat whatever crumbs fall from the kids' plates. Like, I'm not looking for meatloaf. I'm not looking for, a porterhouse steak here. I'm not looking for eggplant parmesan. I'll eat the crumbs that fall off of the kids' plates. I'm good with that. And Jesus said, because of this answer, you may go and your daughter is healed. The one, what's the one let me ask you a question. Like, have you ever watched those shows on Nat Geo when you see a lion who's chasing down a wildebeest or a gazelle, right? Have you ever seen on one of those shows a lion ever get discouraged? Ever, you know, he's out there for a chase, he's going for a chase, and even if he doesn't get the animal, do you see him look discouraged or depressed or down? Do you see him moping around? No. What he does or she does is she gets behind another bird, you know, tree or bush. She lurks behind a bush and she waits for the next attempt. Okay? Lions don't get discouraged. This woman, regardless of how she was treated, regardless of the way that other people viewed her and saw her, she was undeterred, unyielding. She did not allow herself to get discouraged. Okay, she had, and this is a play on words, right? She had the one thing necessary: a dogged determination. And it might have been for her kid, right? Because you just love your kids and you'll move heaven and earth for them. But regardless, she had a dogged determination. And when Jesus said that to her, the cool thing about it is she challenged him. After Jesus said, it is not right to give the children's bread and feed it to the dogs, she combated that and she went back at him and she challenged. And she said, yes, Lord, yes. But even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall off of the master's table. She challenged him. She was undeterred. She had a dogged determination to, not go until she got what she was looking for. Okay? Listen, if you're a person who feels like you are an afterthought, if you feel like you are marginalized, that you are are devalued, you need dogged determination to move forward and not allow the world to form your identity. You need a dogged determination to not pull your violin out and allow what your failures and the way the world sees you to form your identity. You need to move forward and allow one person to formulate your sense of who you are, and that's Jesus and Jesus alone. Okay? So, and it's not our natural bent. We have to fight against it. It's much more natural for us to pull out our violin and play our sad song and walk away sad and allow our failures and the culture and what other people say about us to form a sense of who we are. That's the natural thing. We have to fight against our very nature. It's like the story of the black widow spider. So one day there was a black widow spider who wanted to get to the other side of a river. So he asked a frog if he could jump on his back and if he can carry him across the river. The frog turned to him and said, hey, if I do that, I know that you are going to bite me probably, and then we're both going to go down with the ship. So the spider said to him, no, I'm not going to bite you, because if I bite you, then I'm going to drown and die too, and I would never do that. So the frog thought to himself, yeah, he's probably right, okay. So the black widow spider hops on the frog's back, and they're going across the river, and about halfway through the river, the spider bites the frog in the back. And they begin to go down and drown. And right before they do, the frog turns to him and said, why did you do that? And the black widow spider says, because it's in my nature. It's what I do. We got to fight against what we do and what's in our nature. It's in our nature to let everyone else and our failures form a sense of who we are, a sense of our, identity. And we have to fight against that. So we allow only one person to form our, identity. We have to live for an audience of one and one only. So listen, thanks for hopping on. I hope that you enjoyed the series. I hope it blessed you. And I hope that you wake up every day asking yourself this one question: how can I add value to one person's life today? And I guarantee you, if you do that every day, you will come into your reason for existing. Amen. Amen.